You remain upon the quiet hills of Greece as another gentle morning arrives. Golden sunlight slowly washes across the valleys, touching the marble temples of Athens before climbing the distant peaks that surround Sparta. The same sun warms both cities, yet each greets the day in its own distinctive way. In Athens, the harbor is already alive. Long before the streets become crowded, sailors tighten ropes, merchants inspect cargo, and fishermen return with the night's catch. Wooden cranes lift heavy amphorae filled with olive oil, wine, and fragrant honey. The voices of traders echo across the docks in many different languages. Ships have arrived from islands scattered across the Aegean, from Egypt to the south, and from distant shores along the coast of Asia Minor. You slowly walk among them. Everywhere you look, movement fills the harbor. Bundles of timber arrive for new buildings. Copper and silver are carefully weighed. Fresh figs, grain, pottery, fine cloth, and carved statues change hands as agreements are made with calm conversations rather than raised swords. The sea has made Athens wealthy. Its ships travel farther than those of almost any other Greek city. Its influence stretches from island to island, protected by one of the greatest navies the ancient world has ever seen. Each sleek trireme rests quietly beside the docks, its long rows of oars waiting patiently beneath neatly folded sails. At first glance, they appear peaceful, yet every vessel has been designed for remarkable speed and deadly precision if war should ever come. For now, however, they carry commerce instead of conflict. You leave the harbor and return through the city. Artisans patiently carve marble into graceful statues. Young students gather beneath shaded colonnades to hear respected teachers discuss mathematics, philosophy, astronomy, and poetry. The sound of chisels striking stone blends gently with birdsong drifting from nearby gardens. Life feels balanced. Prosperity creates confidence. Confidence creates ambition. Meanwhile, many days' journey away, Sparta awakens beneath a different rhythm. The morning begins not with crowded markets, but with disciplined silence. Young warriors march across dusty training grounds. Bronze shields catch the first light of dawn. Long spears rise together in perfect formation. Commands are spoken clearly. Every movement has purpose. Every mistake is corrected. Spartan citizens believe that discipline is the strongest foundation any society can possess. Here, courage is not celebrated through grand speeches. It is practiced every single day. Children grow into soldiers. Soldiers become guardians of the state. The individual always stands behind the needs of the community. Even the houses reflect this philosophy. They are simple, strong, built without unnecessary decoration. The Spartans admire usefulness more than beauty. Yet, despite their differences, neither Athens nor Sparta wishes for endless war. Both remember the terrible years when the mighty Persian Empire attempted to conquer Greece. Not long ago, these two rivals fought side by side against a common enemy. At Marathon, at Thermopylae, at Salamis, at Plataea. Together, Greek courage overcame overwhelming odds. Those victories became stories told around countless evening fires. Children listened with wide eyes. Parents remembered sacrifices made for freedom. The memory of unity still lives in every generation. But peace is rarely permanent. After the Persian Wars ended, new questions slowly emerged. Who should guide Greece? Who should protect the islands? Who should command the seas? Athens believed its powerful navy could secure lasting safety for everyone. Many island cities agreed. They joined together in an alliance known as the Delian League. Each member contributed ships, money, or supplies. Officially, the alliance existed to defend Greece from future Persian attacks. Over time, however, something began to change. Year after year, Athens grew richer. Its fleet became larger. Its influence spread farther across the Aegean. Some allies gladly accepted Athenian leadership. Others quietly wondered whether they still belonged to an alliance, or whether they had become subjects of a growing empire. Far inland, Sparta watched carefully. The Spartans led a different alliance known as the Peloponnesian League. Its members valued independence and military cooperation rather than naval power. Although Sparta possessed fewer ships, its army remained respected throughout Greece. Neither alliance sought immediate conflict, yet each viewed the growing strength of the other with increasing caution. Fear often grows silently. It does not appear overnight. It develops little by little through uncertainty, misunderstanding, and suspicion. A new fortress here, a stronger fleet there, a political disagreement between distant allies. None of these events alone seems large enough to threaten the peace, but together they slowly reshape the balance of power. As another peaceful evening settles across Greece, smoke rises gently from village chimneys. Families gather once again around simple meals of bread, olives, cheese, and fresh fruit. Children laugh beneath ancient olive trees. Old men tell stories beneath clear skies filled with brilliant stars. Everything appears calm. Everything feels familiar. Yet beneath this quiet surface, invisible currents are already moving. Not beneath the earth, as they once did before the fall of the Minoans, but within the hearts of nations. Pride, honor, fear, ambition. These unseen forces can shape history just as surely as earthquakes or storms. Soon, a single dispute between distant allies will begin a chain of events that neither Athens nor Sparta will be able to stop. The peace that has lasted for years is becoming increasingly fragile. And although no one can yet see the full shape of the future, the first shadows of the Peloponnesian War are quietly stretching across Greece. A cool breeze drifts across quiet valleys, carrying the scent of pine forests and the distant sea. Fishermen pull their boats toward the water just as they have done for generations. Farmers guide their animals into green fields, while shepherds patiently lead their flocks across rocky hillsides. To anyone watching from afar, the Greek world appears peaceful. Life continues with its familiar rhythm. Markets open. Children laugh in narrow streets. Temple bells echo softly across marble courtyards. The gods are honored with fresh flowers, incense, and small offerings placed upon stone altars. Nothing seems different, yet history rarely announces itself with loud voices. Instead, it often begins with conversations held behind closed doors. Far from the crowded marketplaces, respected leaders gather inside council chambers built of cool white marble. Maps lie carefully spread across polished wooden tables. Messengers arrive carrying sealed scrolls. Every report speaks of another disagreement between distant allies. At first, these disputes seem small. A disagreement over trade, a conflict between neighboring colonies, a request for military support. Events that might normally pass without attracting much attention. But in Greece, no city stands completely alone. Every alliance creates obligations. Every promise demands loyalty. When one city asks for help, its allies must decide whether to answer. One such dispute begins between Corinth, one of Sparta's strongest allies, and Corcyra, a powerful island city with one of the largest fleets in Greece. The conflict concerns trade routes, colonies, and influence across the Ionian Sea. To the people living there, the disagreement feels immediate and deeply important. To many Athenians, it appears distant.
Yet Athens understands something that cannot easily be ignored. If Corinth becomes stronger at sea, Sparta's alliance may also become stronger. After long debate, Athens decides to support Corcyra. The decision seems reasonable to many citizens. After all, Protecting friends is expected among allies. Yet from Corinth's point of view, Athens has interfered in matters that do not concern it. The seeds of resentment begin to grow. Not long afterward, another dispute emerges. The prosperous city of Potidæa, though connected to Athens through the Delian League, also maintains close ties with Corinth. Athens worries that Potidæa may one day rebel. To prevent this possibility, Athenian leaders demand stronger control over the city. Potidæa refuses. Walls are strengthened, soldiers prepare for defense. Athens sends an army. Corinth quietly sends assistance. What might have remained a local disagreement now draws larger powers into the conflict. Across Greece, people begin asking difficult questions. Can peace survive if every local dispute pulls greater alliances into confrontation? Can powerful cities continue expanding without creating fear among their neighbors? Can trust survive once suspicion has taken root? You continue walking through Athens. The streets remain busy. Artisans still carve beautiful statues. Teachers still discuss philosophy beneath shaded colonnades. Musicians continue filling public squares with gentle melodies played upon the lyre. Yet beneath these familiar sounds, another feeling slowly appears: uncertainty. Conversations become quieter whenever politics is mentioned. Merchants wonder whether distant trade routes will remain safe. Shipbuilders receive increasing requests to repair warships instead of merchant vessels. Bronze helmets once stored away after the Persian Wars are carefully polished once again. Woodworkers craft new shields, blacksmiths sharpen spearheads. No one openly wishes for war, yet everyone quietly prepares for the possibility. Far away in Sparta, similar preparations unfold. Young hoplites continue their daily exercises. Commanders inspect armor with careful attention. Messengers arrive from allied cities carrying reports from every corner of Greece. Inside Spartan council halls, elders speak calmly. Their voices never rise. Their decisions are measured. But each new report strengthens a growing belief. Athens has become too powerful. Its navy dominates the sea. Its wealth continues growing. Its influence reaches farther each year. Some Spartans begin wondering whether waiting any longer might only make Athens stronger still. As evening approaches, smoke curls gently from village homes throughout Greece. Families gather for another quiet meal. Bread is shared, olives are passed from hand to hand. Children ask innocent questions about stories they have heard from travelers arriving along dusty roads. Their parents answer softly. No one wishes to frighten them. Yet even ordinary families can feel that something is changing. The air itself seems heavier, not because of storms gathering above, but because of uncertainty gathering between nations. Across the calm waters of the Aegean, merchant ships continue sailing beneath glowing sunsets. Their captains still follow familiar routes from island to island, but increasingly they notice warships traveling beside them. Bronze rams gleam beneath the fading sunlight. Long rows of oars move steadily through calm water. The sea remains beautiful, yet it no longer feels quite as peaceful as before. The balance that has protected Greece for decades is beginning to shift. And once that balance finally breaks, the ancient world will enter a conflict unlike any it has ever known.
You remain in ancient Greece as another peaceful dawn slowly spreads across the land. Soft golden light reaches the marble temples of Athens, then stretches across distant valleys until it touches the mountains surrounding Sparta. Birds sing as they always have. Olive leaves shimmer gently beneath the morning breeze. The sea reflects the sky like polished glass. Nature continues without concern. But among the people of Greece, the feeling has changed. The years of growing distrust have finally reached their limit. In the spring of 431 BCE, after long discussions, careful debates, and many failed attempts at diplomacy, Sparta and its allies make a decision that will shape Greek history for generations. War is declared. No great trumpet announces the moment. No single voice echoes across the mountains. Instead, messengers quietly leave Sparta on horseback, carrying sealed orders to cities throughout the Peloponnesian League. One by one, allied armies begin preparing to march. Bronze armor is lifted from storage. Long spears are carefully inspected. Leather sandals are repaired.
Families embrace fathers, brothers, and sons before they begin the long journey north. As you watch from a nearby hillside, thousands of Spartan hoplites slowly gather together. Each soldier carries a heavy round shield. Each wears a polished Corinthian helmet that hides most of his face. Long spears rise together above the marching columns like a quiet forest of bronze. There is little shouting, very little celebration, only steady footsteps upon the dusty roads of Greece. Their destination is Attica, the homeland surrounding Athens. Meanwhile, inside Athens, another strategy begins to unfold. Its leader, Pericles, understands something that many citizens struggle to accept. Sparta possesses perhaps the finest land army in all of Greece. Meeting them in an open battle could place everything Athens has built at terrible risk. Instead, Pericles chooses patience. He asks the people to remain safely behind the city's mighty walls. The countryside, though precious, can be rebuilt. The people cannot. Many Athenians find this difficult. You watch long lines of families leaving their farms. Oxen pull heavy wooden carts filled with blankets, grain, pottery, and treasured family belongings. Goats and sheep are guided toward the city gates. Children glance back one last time at orchards where they once played beneath ancient olive trees. Some wonder whether they will ever return. The roads leading into Athens become crowded. Every village seems to empty itself. Inside the protection of the long walls, the city grows more crowded with every passing day. Temporary shelters appear in public squares. Families sleep beneath covered walkways in temple courtyards. The familiar rhythm of the countryside has been replaced by the constant movement of thousands seeking safety. Not long afterward, the Spartan army arrives. From the hills overlooking Attica, you see thousands of bronze shields reflecting the summer sun. The disciplined columns spread slowly across the countryside. Fields of ripening grain are trampled beneath marching feet. Olive orchards that have stood for generations are cut down. Vineyards are abandoned. Smoke begins rising into the warm blue sky. Yet the walls of Athens remain closed. Pericles refuses every invitation to fight. From the safety of the city, Athenian citizens watch distant columns of smoke rising from lands they have known since childhood. Many feel anger. Others feel sorrow. Some question whether their leaders have chosen the correct path. But Pericles remains calm. He reminds everyone that Sparta can burn fields. It cannot destroy the sea. Athens still commands the greatest navy in Greece.
Soon, while Spartan soldiers remain in Attica, Athenian triremes quietly leave the harbor of Piraeus. Hundreds of skilled rowers move their oars together with perfect rhythm. The ships glide across the sparkling Aegean Sea almost effortlessly. Rather than confronting Sparta's army on land, they sailed toward the Peloponnesian coastline. There, Athenian forces land unexpectedly. Small coastal settlements are raided. Military supplies are destroyed. Then, before Spartan armies can respond, the fleet disappears once more across the open sea. This becomes the rhythm of the first campaign. Sparta dominates the countryside. Athens dominates the sea. Neither side can easily strike the other where it is strongest. The war settles into an uneasy pattern. Weeks become months. The seasons quietly continue their endless cycle. Summer slowly fades into autumn. Harvests that should have filled barns now lie abandoned outside the city walls. Inside Athens, life continues as best it can. Teachers still gather students beneath shaded colonnades. Priests continue offering prayers inside marble temples. Merchants still open their stalls each morning, though fewer goods now arrive from distant lands. At night, families light small oil lamps and gather together, telling stories to comfort anxious children. Above them, the stars remain unchanged. The same constellations shine over Athens. The same stars shine above Sparta. Nature pays no attention to human conflict. Yet, beneath those peaceful skies, the Peloponnesian War has truly begun. It is a war that neither side yet realizes will continue not for months, not for a few years, but for nearly 3 decades. And before its long story reaches its end, Greece will witness moments of extraordinary courage, heartbreaking loss, remarkable leadership, devastating mistakes, and changes that will echo through history for centuries to come. For now, however, the first year slowly comes to a close. The fires in Attica begin to fade. The Spartan army marches home for the winter. Athens remains standing behind its mighty walls. The sea grows quiet once again. A gentle evening breeze drifts across the Aegean. For a brief moment, it almost feels as though peace might still return. But history has already chosen another path. The first winter of war passes quietly. Cold winds sweep across the mountains of Greece, carrying rain over the valleys and filling small streams that had nearly disappeared during the dry summer. The olive trees stand patiently beneath gray skies, and the sea, though sometimes restless, continues its endless rhythm against the rocky shores. As spring slowly returns, so does the war. The Spartan army gathers once more. Bronze helmets are polished. Long spears are lifted onto waiting shoulders. Allied soldiers arrive from cities across the Peloponnesian League, each answering the call just as they had the year before. Again, thousands of disciplined hoplites begin their steady march toward Attica. The roads that had briefly grown quiet once again echo beneath countless footsteps. Inside Athens, people already know what to expect. There will be no great battle outside the walls. There will be no charge across open fields. Pericles remains committed to the same careful strategy. The people will stay inside. The navy will protect the sea. Time, he believes, is on Athens' side. You walk slowly through the crowded streets. The city feels very different now. Months earlier, these same streets had been filled mainly with merchants, philosophers, artists, and travelers. Now every available space has become someone's temporary home. Families from distant villages sleep beneath wooden shelters built against public buildings. Children play in narrow alleys instead of open fields. Farm animals share small courtyards with hundreds of strangers. The sound of conversation never truly disappears. Athens has become one enormous gathering place. Yet, despite the crowding, daily life continues. Bakers wake before sunrise. Fresh bread fills the air with its familiar, comforting smell. Potters shape wet clay into jars and bowls. Blacksmiths repair farming tools alongside damaged armor. Women gather water from public fountains while exchanging quiet conversations about loved ones still serving aboard the fleet. The temples remain busy. Priests continue lighting incense before statues of Athena. Offerings of flowers, fruit, and olive branches cover the stone altars. Many people pray for protection. Others simply ask for peace. Outside the walls, however, another season of destruction quietly unfolds. The Spartan army once again spreads across Attica. Olive orchards that survived the previous year are cut down. Fields ready for harvest are trampled beneath thousands of marching feet. Smoke rises slowly into the bright blue sky. From the highest points of Athens, citizens watch their countryside disappearing once again beyond the city walls. Some stand silently. Others wipe away quiet tears. Every distant column of smoke marks another farm, another vineyard, another family home. Yet Pericles refuses to change his plan. He understands that the Spartan army cannot remain forever. Their own farms require attention. Their soldiers must eventually return home. Athens, supplied through the sea, can endure much longer. Meanwhile, the great harbor of Piraeus remains alive with activity. You watch elegant triremes arriving from distant islands carrying grain, timber, salted fish, wine, and fresh supplies. The sea remains Athens' greatest strength. Every successful voyage reminds the citizens that they are not completely surrounded. The horizon still belongs to them. Far beyond Greece, merchant ships continue crossing the eastern Mediterranean. Trade has slowed, but it has not stopped. Life continues. Slowly. Patiently. As evening approaches, families gather around simple meals. Bread, olives, cheese, a little wine mixed with water. Parents tell gentle stories to comfort children who have begun asking difficult questions. When will we go home? When will the soldiers leave? When will everything be like before? No one truly knows the answers. The older citizens remember earlier wars against Persia. They tell the younger generation that difficult times always pass. History moves in seasons, just like nature. Winter gives way to spring. Storms eventually clear. Peace always seems possible. High above the city, the Acropolis still shines proudly beneath the setting sun. Its marble temples glow with warm, golden light. Looking upward, it is easy to believe that Athens remains as strong as ever. Yet beneath this confidence, another danger has arrived quietly. Not carried by soldiers, not carried by ships, not announced by messengers. It moves silently through crowded streets, from one person to another, almost invisible at first. No one notices its arrival. No council debates it. No general can defeat it. Soon, the greatest challenge Athens has yet faced will come not from Sparta's army, but from something far smaller than any sword or spear. And the course of the Peloponnesian War will change in a way that no leader could have imagined. The warm days of spring gradually settle over Athens. Sunlight pours across the white marble temples, and from a distance, the city still appears magnificent. The Acropolis rises proudly above the crowded streets, its columns glowing beneath the clear Mediterranean sky. Yet, as you walk through the city, something feels different. The air is heavier. The streets are more crowded than ever before. Families who once lived peacefully across the countryside now share every available corner within the city walls. Temporary shelters fill marketplaces, temple courtyards, and open spaces between homes. People continue living as normally as they can. Merchants still arrange pottery and baskets each morning. Children still invent games in narrow streets. Blacksmiths continue repairing tools and armor. Sailors unload grain arriving from distant ports. Life carries on, even during war. Then, quietly, almost unnoticed, the first whispers begin. A sailor becomes ill. A merchant collapses while unloading supplies. A family remains inside their home for several days longer than usual. At first, no one believes these events are connected. Illness has always been part of life. People expect sickness to visit from time to time. The physicians prepare herbal medicines made from honey, olive oil, and fragrant plants gathered from nearby hillsides. Priests offer prayers inside the temples. Families care gently for their loved ones. Everyone hopes the gods will protect those they love. Outside the city walls, the Spartan army hears reports of the terrible sickness. Looking toward Athens from the surrounding hills, they see no obvious sign of the suffering within. The mighty walls still stand. The Acropolis still shines beneath the sun. But the Spartans choose not to remain nearby for long. Concerned that the mysterious illness may spread beyond the city, they withdraw from Attica earlier than expected, returning to the safety of the Peloponnese. For the first time since the war began, Athens is left alone. Yet the greatest danger remains inside the walls. Even Pericles, the wise leader who has guided Athens through the opening years of the war, cannot escape the hardship facing his people. You occasionally catch sight of him walking through the city. His face shows quiet determination, but also deep concern. He speaks calmly with citizens. He encourages patience. He reminds everyone that difficult times eventually pass. Still, he cannot hide the sadness he feels while watching his beloved city suffer. Weeks slowly become months. Summer arrives. The bright Mediterranean sun warms the marble streets each afternoon. Olive trees continue producing fruit beyond the city walls. The sea remains calm. Merchant ships still arrive carrying precious grain and supplies. Nature continues its endless cycle, unaware of human sorrow. Little by little, the terrible sickness begins to lose its strength. The number of new illnesses slowly decreases. Some families finally step outside after many long weeks. The sounds of daily life cautiously begin to return. Yet Athens is no longer the same city you first visited. Many familiar faces have disappeared. Many homes now stand strangely quiet. Every citizen carries memories of someone they have lost. Even so, life endures. Bread is baked once more. Children cautiously begin playing again beneath the afternoon sun. Ships continue crossing the Aegean Sea. And as the city slowly gathers its strength, another difficult chapter quietly approaches. For among those who have been touched by the plague is the very man whose careful leadership has guided Athens since the beginning of the war. His story is nearing its final pages, and with his passing, the future of Athens will become far more uncertain than ever before. A gentle autumn breeze drifts across the hills surrounding Athens. The fierce heat of summer has begun to fade. Olive branches sway softly beneath a clear blue sky, and the sea once again reflects the quiet colors of the approaching evening. Nature continues its endless rhythm, untouched by the hopes and worries of humankind. Within the city, however, life has changed forever. Although the terrible plague has begun to weaken, its memory remains everywhere. As you slowly walk through the familiar streets, you notice empty homes whose doors remain closed. Market stalls that once overflowed with colorful pottery and fresh produce now stand unusually quiet. Many craftsmen have returned to their workshops, yet their movements seem slower than before. Every citizen carries invisible memories. Every family remembers someone who is no longer sitting beside the evening fire. Even so, Athens refuses to surrender its spirit. Children cautiously return to the streets. Teachers once again gather beneath shaded colonnades. Ships continue arriving at the harbor of Piraeus, carrying grain from Egypt, timber from Macedonia, and merchants from distant islands. Life, although changed, moves forward. Among all those carrying heavy responsibilities, none bears a greater burden than Pericles. For many years he has guided Athens through both prosperity and war. He watched the Parthenon rise above the Acropolis. He strengthened the navy that protects the city. He believed that patience, wisdom, and endurance would allow Athens to survive even the greatest challenges. Now, however, you find him quieter than before. He walks slowly through the city he loves. Citizens greet him respectfully. Some bow their heads. Others simply offer silent smiles. No great speeches are needed. Everyone understands the weight resting upon his shoulders. He has witnessed not only the destruction of farms and villages beyond the city walls, he has watched sickness enter the homes of thousands. Like so many others, Pericles has suffered personal loss. Members of his own family have been taken by the plague. The confident leader who once stood before enormous assemblies now carries the sadness known only to those who have lost the people they loved most. Still, he continues serving his city. Each morning he meets with generals. Messengers arrive carrying reports from the fleet. Supplies are counted carefully.
The walls remain secure. The navy continues its patrols across the Aegean Sea.
Outside Athens, the Spartan army returns once more to Attica. Again, smoke rises above distant olive groves. Again, fields are abandoned. Again, villages fall silent beneath the passing armies. Yet, Pericles does not abandon his strategy. He understands that Sparta's greatest strength remains its army. Athens must continue relying upon its fleet, its walls, and its patience. Not everyone agrees. Inside the assembly, some citizens begin questioning whether another approach might bring quicker victory. Voices that once praised Pericles now occasionally criticize him. Such changes are common during difficult times. When peace disappears, certainty often disappears with it. Even wise leaders cannot escape criticism. As the weeks quietly pass, Pericles himself begins to weaken. At first, few notice. He attends fewer public gatherings. Trusted friends begin carrying greater responsibilities. Physicians visit his home more frequently. The city watches with quiet concern. One calm morning, beneath a pale autumn sky, the news slowly spreads through Athens. Pericles has died. No great bells ring. No loud announcement echoes through the streets. Instead, neighbors quietly tell one another. Merchants pause their work. Teachers lower their voices. Even the busy harbor seems strangely calm. The man who guided Athens during one of the greatest periods in its history is gone. You see citizens gathering beneath the Acropolis. Some place olive branches near public monuments. Others simply stand in thoughtful silence. There are no dramatic displays, only quiet reflection. Many remember his speeches. Many remember the confidence he inspired. Others remember seeing him walking peacefully through the city during its darkest days, refusing to abandon hope. Above them, the Parthenon continues shining beneath the afternoon sun. Its marble columns remain unchanged. The sea still sparkles beyond the long walls. The wind still carries the scent of pine and salt water. Nature reminds every generation of an ancient truth. No leader lives forever. No city remains unchanged forever. Only time continues its patient journey. As another season slowly settles across Athens, thousands of small oil lamps begin glowing inside homes throughout the city. Families gather together once again. Some speak quietly about Pericles. Others simply sit together in peaceful silence. Far beyond the city walls, the stars begin appearing above Greece just as they always have. The war continues, but without the steady guidance of Pericles, Athens now enters an uncertain chapter. New leaders will soon rise. New ideas will shape the future. And the conflict that once seemed carefully controlled will gradually become more unpredictable than anyone could have imagined. As another season quietly unfolds across Greece, the absence of Pericles is felt everywhere. The marble streets of Athens remain busy from sunrise until evening, yet something has changed beneath the familiar rhythm of daily life. The calm confidence that once guided the city has slowly given way to uncertainty. You walk once more through the Agora, the great marketplace at the heart of Athens. Merchants continue arranging painted pottery. Fresh bread still fills the morning air with its comforting aroma. Children chase one another beneath the stone columns, while philosophers continue their thoughtful conversations beneath shaded porticos. To a visitor arriving for the first time, Athens still appears magnificent, yet those who have lived here for many years recognize a quieter mood. Conversations now turn more often toward the war. How long will it last? Can victory still be achieved? Who should lead the city now? Without Pericles, many voices begin competing for attention. Some leaders urge patience. Others believe Athens should fight more aggressively. Inside the assembly, debates grow longer than before. Hundreds of citizens gather beneath the open sky, listening carefully as speakers present different visions for the future.
Each believes he speaks for the good of Athens, yet agreement becomes increasingly difficult. Far beyond the city walls, Sparta also continues preparing for another campaign. Its armies march with the same discipline they have shown since the beginning of the war. Bronze shields remain polished, spears remain straight. Commands are spoken with calm precision. Year after year, the Spartan soldiers cross into Attica, following roads that have become painfully familiar. Olive groves, once full of life, now bear the scars of repeated invasions. Stone farmhouses stand abandoned beneath the Mediterranean sun. Nature, however, begins its quiet work of healing. Green shoots appear where fields were burned. Wildflowers bloom between broken walls. Birds return to orchards that had fallen silent during the marches of great armies. The earth itself reminds you that, even after destruction, life slowly finds a way to continue. Meanwhile, Athens continues relying upon its greatest strength, the sea. At the harbor of Piraeus, shipbuilders work tirelessly. Fresh timber arrives from distant forests. Carpenters shape long wooden hulls with remarkable skill. Blacksmiths hammer glowing bronze into strong nails, fittings, and polished rams. Every completed trireme represents another promise that Athens will remain connected to the wider Mediterranean. Soon, the fleet sails once again. You watch as hundreds of rowers lower their oars into calm blue water. At the command of the captain, the ships glide silently from the harbor. White sails catch the morning breeze. The fleet disappears beyond the horizon toward distant coastlines controlled by Sparta and its allies. Rather than seeking one enormous battle, the Athenians strike where opportunities appear. They raid supply stations, protect friendly islands, escort merchant ships carrying precious grain. Control of the sea remains their greatest advantage. Back in Sparta, another remarkable leader begins earning respect. His name is Brasidas. Unlike many commanders, Brasidas is known not only for courage in battle, but also for wisdom and diplomacy. Where some generals rely entirely upon force, Brasidas often attempts to win cities through negotiation. He understands that loyalty cannot always be demanded by fear alone. Sometimes respect accomplishes far more. As months pass, his reputation spreads throughout northern Greece. Several cities begin questioning whether remaining loyal to Athens truly serves their interests. Some open their gates willingly to Brasidas. Others welcome Spartan protection without a fight. Athens watches these developments with growing concern. The war is no longer limited to Attica. Its influence now stretches across much of the Greek world. From island harbors to distant mountain towns, nearly everyone is affected in some way. You continue your peaceful journey across the countryside. The seasons pass almost unnoticed. Spring flowers cover gentle hills. Summer warms the vineyards. Autumn fills olive baskets once again. Winter rains wash the dusty roads clean. Nature keeps perfect time, even while human history moves through uncertainty. Then, far to the southwest, attention begins turning toward an unfamiliar place along the rugged coast of the Peloponnese. It is called Pylos.
At first, it appears to be little more than a rocky stretch of coastline overlooking the sea. Few people realize that this quiet harbor will soon become the setting for one of the most surprising chapters of the entire Peloponnesian War. A single decision made there will challenge the reputation of Sparta, will inspire new confidence in Athens, and will remind all of Greece that even the strongest traditions can sometimes be changed by unexpected events. As evening settles gently across the Mediterranean, the waves roll softly against the shore. The stars slowly appear above the silent sea. Somewhere in the darkness, Athenian ships continue their steady voyage, and beyond the horizon, history patiently prepares to turn another page.
As darkness settles across the coastline, small campfires glow beneath countless stars. Sailors quietly tell stories from earlier voyages. Veteran soldiers speak about distant battles already fought. Young recruits listen carefully, imagining what tomorrow may bring. A cool breeze carries the scent of salt water across the camp. Above, the stars remain unchanged. The same constellations shine over Athens. The same stars shine above Sparta. Nature offers no judgment. It simply watches. Soon, the silence surrounding Pylos will be broken, not by storms, not by earthquakes, but by thousands of Spartan warriors marching toward the harbor. And in the days ahead, this quiet stretch of coastline will become the setting for one of the most unexpected moments in the entire Peloponnesian War. The first light of morning slowly spreads across the quiet waters of Pylos. A gentle mist rises from the harbor, softening the rugged cliffs that surround the small Athenian fortress. Waves roll lazily against the rocky shoreline, and seabirds glide effortlessly through the cool air, calling to one another as though this is simply another peaceful day. For a brief moment, it almost is. The soldiers wake before sunrise. Some prepare simple meals of bread, olives, and dried fish. Others quietly repair shields that have become worn from weeks of work. A few stand upon the wooden watchtowers, scanning the distant horizon where the sea meets the pale morning sky. Then, as the sun climbs higher, movement appears. Far across the water, countless flashes of bronze begin reflecting the growing light. The Spartan army has arrived. Long columns of disciplined hoplites march steadily toward the coast. Behind them follow wagons carrying supplies, craftsmen, and additional weapons. Their advance is calm, measured, orderly. The Spartans never hurry. Every movement has been practiced many times before. From the cliffs above Pylos, you watch the army slowly spread across the surrounding hills. Campfires begin appearing. Tents are raised with quiet efficiency. Messengers ride between commanders, carrying instructions that will soon shape the coming battle. At sea, another danger approaches. The Spartan fleet enters the nearby waters, hoping to trap the Athenians inside the harbor. For a short time, it seems that the small fortress may become completely surrounded. Yet Athens still possesses its greatest advantage: the sea. Soon, additional Athenian triremes appear from beyond the horizon. Their white sails shine brightly beneath the afternoon sun. The experienced crews row with remarkable precision as they approach the narrow entrance to the harbor. The calm water suddenly fills with movement. Dozens of warships maneuver carefully between rocky shores. Bronze rams cut through the sea. The sound of hundreds of oars striking the water echoes across the bay.
Captains shout brief commands. Trumpets sound above the wind. The naval battle that follows is fierce but disciplined. Ships collide with tremendous force. Oars splinter, sails flutter wildly in the strong breeze. The blue sea churns beneath the movements of dozens of triremes. Gradually, the skill of the Athenian sailors begins to prevail. Years spent mastering the sea now reveal their value. One by one, Spartan ships withdraw from the harbor. Others are captured. The blockade is broken. The Athenian fleet once again controls the surrounding waters. But an unexpected consequence soon becomes clear. During the confusion of the battle, a group of Spartan hoplites has become stranded on the nearby island of Sphacteria. The island is small, rocky, covered with low shrubs and scattered pine trees, separated from the mainland only by a narrow stretch of water. Yet, without ships to rescue them, the Spartan soldiers cannot easily return. For perhaps the first time in living memory, a group of elite Spartan warriors finds itself isolated.
The news spreads quickly throughout both armies. Many Greeks struggle to believe it. The Spartan soldiers are admired throughout the ancient world for their discipline and courage. Few imagine them trapped upon a lonely island cut off from their homeland. Days pass quietly. The Athenians surround Sphacteria by sea. No ships are permitted to approach. Fresh water and supplies become increasingly difficult for the Spartans to obtain. Still, they remain calm. Every morning they patrol the rocky shoreline. Every evening they gather together beneath the stars. No panic appears among them, only patience. Back on the mainland, Spartan commanders search constantly for a solution. Messengers travel between camps. Negotiations begin. Envoys sail to Athens seeking terms that might allow the trapped soldiers to return safely. For a brief time, peace almost seems possible. Citizens in both cities quietly hope that this unusual situation might finally bring the long war to an end. But the discussions move slowly. Neither side wishes to appear weak. Neither side is willing to surrender important advantages. Eventually, the negotiations come to nothing. The fighting must continue. Inside the Athenian camp, another leader begins attracting attention. His name is Cleon. Unlike the cautious Pericles, Cleon speaks with confidence and energy. He believes the trapped Spartans can be captured. Many doubt him. After all, Spartan warriors have earned a reputation for fighting until death rather than surrender. Yet plans quietly begin taking shape. Experienced generals carefully study the island. Scouts observe every rocky path. Sailors identify hidden coves where soldiers might land. Nothing is rushed. Everything is prepared with patience. As another peaceful sunset spreads across the waters of Pylos, the island of Sphacteria rests quietly beneath a sky painted with shades of gold and crimson. The trapped Spartan soldiers watch the fading light from the rocky shoreline. Across the narrow channel, Athenian campfires begin glowing one by one. The sea between them remains calm, almost perfectly still. Yet everyone understands that this silence cannot last. Very soon, the quiet island will witness an event so unexpected that it will astonish all of Greece. An event that will prove even the strongest warriors are not beyond the reach of history. The calm waters surrounding the island of Sphacteria shimmer beneath the gentle morning sun. A cool breeze carries the scent of salt and pine across the sea as Athenian ships remain quietly anchored offshore. For many days, both sides have waited patiently, watching one another across the narrow stretch of water. Then, at last, the waiting comes to an end.
After careful planning, Athenian soldiers cross to the island. They move cautiously over rocky ground, avoiding unnecessary risks. Archers take positions upon higher slopes, while lightly armed troops advance through the scattered trees. The Spartans respond with the courage for which they have long been admired. Shield meets shield. Spears are raised. Commands echo across the hillside. The battle is difficult, but the Athenians refuse to rush. Instead of charging directly into the famous Spartan line, they remain mobile, using the uneven landscape to their advantage. The hours pass slowly beneath the warm Mediterranean sun. Dust rises from the dry earth. Arrows fly across the rocky slopes. The Spartans fight with remarkable discipline, yet they find themselves surrounded from several directions. At last, something happens that surprises the entire Greek world. The remaining Spartan soldiers lay down their weapons. They surrender.
News of the event spreads with astonishing speed. Messengers ride across Greece carrying the unbelievable story. Many people struggle to accept what they hear. For generations, Sparta has been known as the home of warriors who never surrender. Yet here, upon the quiet island of Sphacteria, history has taken an unexpected turn. You return with the Athenian fleet to the harbor of Piraeus. As the ships enter the harbor, crowds gather along the stone docks. Families wave olive branches. Children cheer as the victorious sailors return home. Musicians fill the air with gentle melodies played upon flutes and lyres. The captured Spartan prisoners are treated with respect, for their value is understood immediately. Athens now possesses something more powerful than treasure. It holds Spartan citizens whose safe return is deeply important to Sparta itself. For the first time since the war began, the balance begins to shift. Sparta becomes more cautious about invading Attica. The repeated destruction of Athenian farms grows less frequent. A period of relative calm slowly settles over Greece. Years continue to pass. Neither side achieves complete victory. Athens wins important successes at sea. Sparta remains powerful on land. Smaller battles continue across distant regions, yet both great powers begin feeling the weight of a conflict that seems to have no clear ending. Farmers wish to return permanently to their fields. Merchants long for safer trade routes. Parents hope their children might grow up knowing peace rather than war. Among the Spartan commanders, one man earns increasing admiration: Brasidas. Through courage, wisdom, and careful diplomacy, he wins allies in northern Greece and challenges Athenian influence far from Attica. His campaigns force Athens to divide its attention across an ever larger world. In response, the Athenians send another capable commander, Cleon. Although very different in personality from Brasidas, he understood the importance of stopping Sparta's growing influence. Eventually, the two armies meet near the northern city of Amphipolis. The battle is brief but significant. When the fighting finally ends, both commanders have fallen. Brasidas is mourned by Sparta. Cleon is mourned by Athens. Their deaths remove two of the strongest voices calling for continued conflict. Sometimes history changes not through great victories, but through quiet absences. Without these determined leaders, both sides begin looking once again toward peace. Messengers travel between Athens and Sparta. Old enemies sit together around wooden tables. Maps are unrolled. Terms are discussed slowly. Every proposal is weighed with care. Neither side receives everything it desires. Neither side leaves entirely satisfied. Yet after 10 long years of warfare, almost everyone agrees on one truth: even an imperfect peace is better than endless fighting. In 421 BCE, an agreement is finally reached. It becomes known as the Peace of Nicias, named after the respected Athenian general who helped negotiate its terms. Across Greece, church-like temple bells do not ring, for the Greeks have no such bells. Instead, sacrifices are offered to the gods. Olive branches decorate public buildings. Merchant ships begin sailing with renewed confidence. Farmers cautiously return to fields that have stood empty for years. Children once again run through olive groves without fear of approaching armies. The war, it seems, has finally come to an end. Or so everyone hopes. As evening settles gently over the Greek world, the sea grows calm once again. The stars appear one by one above Athens. The same stars shine above Sparta. For the first time in many years, the future feels uncertain in a hopeful way. Yet beneath this peaceful surface, old rivalries have not disappeared. They have merely fallen asleep. And before many years have passed, one ambitious young man will awaken them once again. His name is Alcibiades, and his dreams will lead Greece towards its greatest gamble.
The years following the Peace of Nicias pass with a welcome sense of calm. Across Greece, villages slowly recover from the hardships of war. Farmers once again guide oxen through fertile fields that had stood empty for many seasons. Vineyards stretch across gentle hillsides, and olive groves begin producing generous harvests once more. Merchant ships return to the sea. Their wooden hulls carry grain, wine, timber, pottery, and woven cloth from one harbor to another. Sailors greet familiar ports that had become dangerous during the long years of conflict. For a little while, it seems as though Greece has remembered how to live in peace. You wander once again through the streets of Athens. The agora is lively. Artists carve fresh marble statues. Children chase one another beneath the shade of tall columns. Philosophers gather in quiet circles, discussing justice, wisdom, and the mysteries of the stars. The harbor of Piraeus bustles with activity from sunrise until evening. The city feels alive once more. Yet beneath this peaceful surface, another force quietly begins to grow. It is not fear, nor disease. It is ambition. Among the younger generation of Athenian leaders, one man stands apart from all the others. His name is Alcibiades. He is intelligent, confident, gifted with remarkable charm. Whenever he speaks before the assembly, thousands of citizens listen carefully. His words are graceful. His confidence seems limitless. Many admire him. Others worry that his dreams may reach farther than wisdom allows. Alcibiades believes Athens is destined for even greater glory. He looks beyond Greece itself. Far across the sparkling Mediterranean lies the rich island of Sicily. Its fertile fields produce abundant grain. Its prosperous cities grow wealthier each year through trade. Among them stands the magnificent city of Syracuse, one of the largest and most powerful Greek cities outside the mainland. To Alcibiades, Sicily represents opportunity. If Athens could bring the island under its influence, its wealth would increase beyond imagination. Trade routes would expand. Resources would multiply. The navy would become even stronger. Perhaps one day, Athens could become the unquestioned leader of the entire Greek world. Many citizens find this vision inspiring. Others remain cautious. The respected General Nicias, who helped bring peace to Greece, speaks with quiet concern. He reminds the assembly that the Peloponnesian War has not truly ended. The peace remains fragile. Sparta is still powerful. To send a vast army across the sea would be an enormous risk. He urges patience. He asks the people to protect what they already possess rather than seeking distant conquests. The debates continue for days. Inside the great assembly,
Thousands of citizens gather beneath the open sky. One speaker praises caution. Another praises courage. Some argue that fortune favors bold decisions. Others answer that wisdom often lies in restraint. You sit quietly among the crowd, listening as voices rise and fall beneath the warm Mediterranean sun. No one can see the future. Each believes he speaks for the good of Athens. Eventually, enthusiasm begins to outweigh caution. The citizens vote. The Sicilian Expedition is approved. Preparations begin almost immediately. The shipyards of Piraeus become busier than they have been in many years. Carpenters shape enormous timbers into elegant triremes. Blacksmiths hammer glowing bronze into nails, anchors, and polished rams. Rope makers twist long coils of fresh hemp. Potters fill thousands of storage jars with grain, olive oil, dried fruit, and fresh water. Everywhere you look, the city is preparing for one of the greatest military expeditions in its history. As summer approaches, the harbor becomes a breathtaking sight. Hundreds of ships line the docks. Their white sails flutter gently in the sea breeze. Thousands of rowers gather beside their vessels. Soldiers polish helmets until they gleam like gold beneath the morning sun. Priests walk among the fleet, offering blessings and sacrifices to Athena and Poseidon, asking for calm seas and safe journeys. Families arrive before dawn. Parents embrace sons.
Wives hold their husbands' hands for a few quiet moments longer. Children wave small olive branches as the crews climb aboard. Some faces are filled with excitement. Others quietly hide their fears. No one knows how long the voyage will last. As the first rays of sunlight spread across the harbor of Piraeus, a trumpet sounds softly. One by one, the great triremes begin leaving the docks. 3 rows of oars move together with perfect rhythm. The sea sparkles beneath the growing light. Hundreds of white sails catch the gentle wind. From the hills above Athens, the fleet appears almost endless as it slowly disappears toward the western horizon. Citizens remain standing along the shoreline long after the final ship can no longer be seen. Many believe they have just witnessed the beginning of Athens' greatest triumph. Very few imagine they may also have witnessed the beginning of its greatest tragedy. Far beyond the horizon, the island of Sicily waits in peaceful silence. Its fertile fields glow beneath the summer sun. The great walls of Syracuse stand proudly beside the sea. Life continues as it always has. The people there know little of the vast fleet now sailing toward them. But before many seasons have passed, the quiet shores of Sicily will become the stage upon which the fate of Athens itself may be decided. The last white sails of the Athenian fleet slowly disappear beyond the horizon. Back in Athens, the harbor of Piraeus gradually returns to its familiar rhythm. Merchants reopen their stalls. Fishermen once again mend their nets along the stone docks. Children play beside the water, pretending to command great triremes just like those that have recently departed. Yet every family knows someone aboard the expedition. Every evening, parents look westward across the sea. Wives wonder where the fleet has reached. Children imagine their fathers sailing beneath endless blue skies. The distance between Athens and Sicily is great. Weeks of careful sailing lie ahead. Out upon the Mediterranean, life aboard the trireme settles into a steady rhythm. You stand upon the deck as the morning sun rises from the eastern horizon. The sea stretches endlessly in every direction. Gentle waves lift the ships with slow, peaceful motion. 3 rows of oars move together beneath the command of experienced officers. Each stroke is measured. Each movement perfectly timed. The sound of hundreds of wooden oars dipping into the sea becomes almost musical. Sailors have learned that patience is the greatest companion on the long voyage. During calm afternoons, the sails replace the oars. A warm breeze carries the fleet westward.
Dolphins occasionally swim beside the ships. Seabirds circle overhead before disappearing toward distant islands. At night, the fleet anchors in sheltered bays whenever possible. Small cooking fires glow along quiet beaches. Soldiers eat simple meals of bread, olives, dried figs, cheese, and salted fish. Some quietly sharpen their spears. Others repair leather sandals worn by weeks at sea. Veteran sailors point toward the stars, teaching younger men how generations of navigators have crossed these waters long before maps became common. The sea itself becomes their guide. The North Star remains steady. Familiar constellations slowly drift across the heavens. Looking upward, it is easy to forget that this journey leads toward war. Days gradually become weeks. The fleet passes islands scattered like emeralds across the sparkling sea. Some welcome the Athenians with friendly harbors and fresh water. Others simply watch from distant hills as hundreds of ships glide silently past. Every successful day strengthens confidence. Many aboard begin believing the expedition will achieve exactly what Alcibiades promised. Then, quite unexpectedly, troubling news reaches the commanders. A fast messenger ship catches the main fleet. Its captain brings astonishing reports from Athens.
Before the expedition had fully departed, sacred statues, known as the Hermes, placed throughout the city as symbols of protection and good fortune, had been mysteriously damaged during the night. The event had shocked the citizens. Many believed it to be a terrible religious omen. Rumors spread quickly through every street. Accusations followed. Among those accused of involvement was Alcibiades himself. The charges remain unproven. Some believe they are motivated by politics. Others genuinely fear that the gods have been offended. The assembly decides that Alcibiades must return to Athens to answer the accusations before a court. The order reaches the fleet while it continues its journey toward Sicily. You watch the commanders gather aboard the flagship. The atmosphere is quiet. No one speaks loudly. The decision is difficult. The expedition has only just begun, yet one of its principal leaders is already being called home. Alcibiades agrees to leave. A smaller ship is prepared. As dawn breaks over the calm sea, he boards quietly. Many soldiers stand silently along the rails, watching his vessel drift away. No one knows whether they will ever see him again. But during the voyage back, Alcibiades makes a decision that will alter the course of the entire war. Instead of returning to Athens, he escapes. Rather than facing trial, he sails elsewhere. Eventually, he seeks refuge with the very people Athens has fought for years: Sparta. The news spreads slowly through the fleet. Some refuse to believe it. Others feel betrayed. Without one of its most energetic leaders, the expedition must now continue under the command of Nicias and Lamachus. Nicias, though experienced and respected, had never wished for this campaign. He had warned the assembly against it. Now the responsibility rests upon his shoulders. Still, the fleet presses onward. The sea remains calm. The wind continues filling the sails. Far ahead, beyond the western horizon, the island of Sicily waits beneath another peaceful sunset. Its fertile fields ripple gently beneath the evening breeze. The great walls of Syracuse shine softly in the fading light. The people living there continue their ordinary lives. Markets remain crowded. Children play beneath olive trees. Farmers gather grapes from sunlit vineyards. Few realize that the greatest fleet ever assembled by Athens is now drawing steadily closer. And with every mile crossed, the future of the Greek world moves toward one of history's most decisive moments. The warm Sicilian sun rises slowly above the eastern horizon. Its first golden light spreads across fertile valleys, quiet vineyards, and fields of waving grain. Olive trees cast long shadows across the countryside, while fishermen guide their small boats from the sheltered harbor into the calm blue waters of the Mediterranean. To the people of Syracuse, it seems like another ordinary morning. Merchants arrange baskets filled with figs, olives, and fresh bread. Potters open their workshops. Children laugh as they race through narrow stone streets. Temple priests prepare the first offerings of the day,
allowing fragrant incense to rise gently toward the clear sky. Life continues peacefully. Yet far beyond the horizon, hundreds of Athenian sails have already appeared. You stand upon the deck of one of the great triremes, as Sicily slowly grows larger before your eyes. The coastline stretches endlessly beneath the brilliant summer sun. White limestone cliffs shine brightly above the sea. For many soldiers, it is the first time they have ever seen this remarkable island. Some gaze quietly in admiration, others remain focused upon the task ahead. The fleet eventually anchors along the coast, while experienced commanders carefully study the landscape. Nothing is rushed. Messengers ride between nearby Greek cities.
Scouts quietly observe the great city of Syracuse from distant hills. The Athenians understand that victory cannot be achieved through haste. Every decision must be made with patience. General Nicias walks thoughtfully among the officers. Unlike Alcibiades, he has never viewed this expedition as a glorious adventure. Instead, he measures every risk with great care. He understands that Athens is now many hundreds of kilometers from home. Every soldier, every ship, every sack of grain, every replacement spear, everything must arrive across the open sea. Distance itself has become another enemy. Meanwhile, inside Syracuse, news of the approaching fleet begins spreading through the city. At first, many citizens refuse to believe the reports. Athens is far away. Surely no city would send such an enormous force across the sea. Yet each passing day brings new messengers. More ships are seen offshore. More villages report Athenian scouts moving through the countryside. The people of Syracuse begin preparing. City gates are strengthened. Stone walls are carefully inspected. Young men gather for military training beneath experienced officers. Blacksmiths work from sunrise until late evening, repairing helmets, shields, and spearheads. Women prepare stores of grain, dried fruit, olive oil, and fresh water. No panic spreads through the streets, only quiet determination. Back in the Athenian camp, work begins almost immediately. Thousands of soldiers unload timber, stone, ropes, and heavy tools from the waiting ships. You walk among them as they begin building fortified camps overlooking the surrounding countryside. Wooden watchtowers slowly rise. Protective walls are strengthened. Supply depots are carefully organized. Every evening, campfires stretch across the hillsides like rows of tiny stars. The great expedition has finally reached its destination. Soon, Nicias begins preparing an ambitious plan. Rather than launching one enormous assault against Syracuse's powerful walls, the Athenians will slowly surround the city. They begin constructing long defensive walls across the surrounding hills. If completed, these fortifications would cut Syracuse off from the countryside. Food could no longer enter freely. Supplies would gradually disappear. The city might eventually surrender without requiring a direct attack. Day after day, thousands of men carry heavy stones beneath the hot Sicilian sun. Others dig deep foundations through dry earth. Carpenters shape enormous wooden beams, while engineers carefully measure every section of the growing wall. The work progresses steadily. Looking across the landscape, the unfinished fortifications seem almost endless. Many Athenians begin believing success is only a matter of time. Yet inside Syracuse, the defenders refuse to remain idle. Experienced leaders understand exactly what the Athenians are attempting. If the city becomes completely surrounded, survival will become increasingly difficult. The Syracusans answer with remarkable determination. Their own workers begin constructing counterwalls, stretching outward from the city to block the advancing Athenian fortifications. Now the surrounding countryside becomes a contest of engineering as much as warfare. One wall advances, another blocks its path. Each morning brings fresh construction. Each evening reveals new obstacles. The struggle unfolds patiently beneath the warm Mediterranean sky. Far away, across the sea, another important event quietly begins. Alcibiades, now welcomed in Sparta, shares valuable knowledge with the Spartan leaders. He explains the weaknesses of the Athenian expedition. He advises Sparta to send help to Syracuse before it is too late. His words are listened to carefully, very carefully.
As another peaceful sunset settles over Sicily, the unfinished walls cast long shadows across the golden fields. From the heights above Syracuse, you can see both camps resting beneath the same evening sky. Small cooking fires glow quietly. The sea reflects the fading colors of the sunset. For a brief moment, everything appears calm. But beyond the horizon, Spartan reinforcements have already begun preparing their journey. And before many months have passed, the balance of the entire campaign will begin to change. The sun rises gently over the hills surrounding Syracuse. Golden light slowly spreads across the unfinished walls that now stretch across the Sicilian countryside. Dew glistens upon the tall grass, and birds begin their familiar songs, as though the land has never known conflict. From a distance, the camps of Athens and Syracuse appear almost peaceful. Thin columns of smoke rise from morning fires. Soldiers prepare simple breakfasts of bread, olives, and dried figs. Blacksmiths awaken their furnaces. Carpenters resume their careful work upon wooden defenses. Each army follows its daily rhythm. Yet beneath this quiet beginning, the balance of the campaign is slowly changing. You climb a gentle hillside overlooking the Athenian camp. Months have passed since the fleet first arrived. The long siege walls continue creeping across the landscape, but progress has become slower. Every section completed by the Athenians is answered by new defenses built by the Syracusans. The contest has become one of patience. Neither side can claim complete success. General Nicias walks through the camp with measured steps. His face reveals quiet determination, but also growing concern. He studies maps late into the evening. He speaks with engineers, sailors, and officers. Each report brings new challenges. Supplies must travel hundreds of miles from Athens. Every damaged ship requires careful repair. Every wounded soldier must be treated far from home. Distance has become as dangerous as any enemy. Then, one warm afternoon, distant sails appear upon the eastern horizon. At first, many Athenians believe them to be merchant vessels. But as the ships draw closer, their purpose becomes clear. Spartan reinforcements have arrived. Leading them is an experienced commander named Gylippus. Unlike many who expected Syracuse to be close to surrender, Gylippus immediately understands the situation. The city still has hope. Its people still possess courage. Its walls still stand. Without wasting precious time, he begins reorganizing the Syracusan defenses. You watch as soldiers gather beneath his command. Training begins at sunrise and continues until evening. Defensive positions are strengthened. Watchtowers are repaired. New counterwalls extend farther across the hills, blocking the Athenian siege works once again. For the first time since arriving in Sicily, the Athenians begin losing the advantage. Small engagements occur almost daily. Groups of hoplites clash briefly before withdrawing. Archers exchange arrows across unfinished earthworks. Neither side rushes into reckless attacks. Instead, every hill, every stone wall, and every narrow pathway becomes valuable. The countryside itself has become part of the battle. As the weeks pass, the confidence that once filled the Athenian camp slowly begins to fade. Some soldiers quietly wonder how much longer they can remain so far from home. Letters from Athens arrive only occasionally. Fresh supplies become harder to obtain. The warm Sicilian summer gives way to autumn. Heavy rains soften the roads. Wooden fortifications require constant repair. Still, Nicias refuses to abandon the expedition. He understands what failure would mean. Athens has invested enormous wealth, thousands of soldiers, and nearly its entire reputation in this campaign. To leave now would be almost unthinkable. Across the city, however, Syracuse grows stronger each day. Markets cautiously reopen. Families regain confidence.
Farmers once again begin working nearby fields under military protection. the arrival of Gylippus has transformed the city's spirit. Where fear once lingered, determination now grows. As evening approaches, you stand upon the shoreline overlooking the quiet harbor. The sea glows with shades of gold and crimson. Athenian triremes rest silently at anchor. Beyond them, the walls of Syracuse reflect the final light of the setting sun. Everything appears peaceful. The waves roll gently against the shore. Seabirds circle above the calm water. Yet beneath this beautiful evening lies an uncomfortable truth. The expedition that once promised certain victory has entered dangerous uncertainty. And far away in Athens, another fleet is already being prepared. Thousands more soldiers, dozens more ships, fresh hope crossing the sea. The Athenians are about to make one final attempt to save their greatest expedition. Whether it will be enough, only history already knows. A cool breeze arrives from the sea as autumn slowly settles over Sicily. The brilliant heat of summer begins to soften, and the golden fields surrounding Syracuse sway gently beneath a sky filled with slow-moving clouds. The olive trees remain heavy with fruit, and the waves of the Mediterranean continue their endless journey toward the shore. Nature remains peaceful. Yet within the Athenian camp, concern quietly grows. Months have passed since the fleet first arrived. The quick victory that many had imagined now feels impossibly distant. You walk through the rows of tents before sunrise. Soldiers awaken slowly after another restless night. Some carefully repair worn leather sandals. Others polish bronze helmets that have lost their shine after months beneath the Sicilian sun. The blacksmith's hammer echoes gently through the camp as damaged spearheads are reshaped over glowing coals. Everyone continues working. Everyone continues hoping. But the long campaign has begun to weigh heavily upon every heart. General Nicias studies fresh reports arriving from scouts. The news is troubling. Syracuse grows stronger with every passing week. New soldiers continue joining the defenders. The arrival of Gylippus has transformed the city's confidence. The walls remain secure. The harbor remains open. The siege that once seemed certain now appears uncertain. Across the sea, however, Athens refuses to abandon its army. After long debates within the assembly, another great fleet is prepared. Fresh triremes leave the harbor of Piraeus carrying thousands of additional soldiers, experienced sailors, engineers, and supplies. Leading this new force is the capable general Demosthenes. When his fleet finally reaches Sicily, the Athenian camp welcomes the newcomers with renewed hope. Campfires burn brightly that evening. For the first time in many months, many soldiers believe victory may still be possible. Demosthenes wastes little time. After carefully studying the situation, he reaches a difficult conclusion. The siege cannot continue forever. Either Syracuse must be defeated quickly, or the expedition should return home before greater disaster arrives. He proposes a bold night attack against the high ground overlooking the city. If those important positions can be captured, perhaps the siege can begin anew. The preparations remain secret. After sunset, thousands of Athenian soldiers quietly assemble beneath a moonlit sky. No loud voices are heard. Only the soft sound of sandals upon dry earth. The stars shine brightly above Sicily as the army begins climbing the steep hills surrounding Syracuse. At first, everything proceeds well. Several defensive positions are captured. The Athenians advance steadily through the darkness. Yet night battles are filled with confusion. The moon disappears behind passing clouds. Dust rises beneath countless feet. Commands become difficult to hear. In the darkness, familiar faces become impossible to recognize. Small groups lose contact with one another. Some soldiers accidentally mistake friends for enemies. Others wander into unfamiliar ground. Slowly, order begins slipping away. The defenders recover.
Fresh Syracusan and Spartan troops launch determined counterattacks. The hills echo with shouted commands and the clash of bronze upon bronze. Before dawn finally arrives, the Athenians are forced to withdraw. Many brave soldiers never return to camp. As the first light spreads across the hills, silence settles over the battlefield. Demosthenes now urges immediate departure. He believes the expedition has reached its limit.
every additional week increases the danger. Nicias hesitates. He worries that leaving too soon will appear dishonorable. He also receives reports suggesting that Syracuse itself may soon face shortages. Perhaps, he thinks, one little while longer might still bring success. The decision is postponed. Then, nature itself intervenes. One quiet evening, as preparations for departure finally begin, the moon slowly darkens. A lunar eclipse spreads across the sky. The silver light fades until the moon glows deep red above the silent camp. Many Athenians view the eclipse as a powerful omen from the gods. Priests advise waiting before sailing. Nicias, deeply respectful of religious tradition, accepts their counsel. The departure is delayed. For nearly a month, the fleet remains where it is. Across the city, the Syracusans recognize the opportunity immediately. They strengthen every defense. The harbor entrance is blocked with ships and heavy barriers. Fresh troops are positioned along the shoreline. Every possible escape route is carefully prepared. When the Athenians finally attempt to leave, they discover that the sea itself has become another battlefield. The great harbor of Syracuse fills with dozens of warships. Bronze rams gleam beneath the bright morning sun. Trumpets sound across the water. Hundreds of oars strike the sea together. The final naval battle begins. The harbor is far narrower than the open waters where Athenian sailors usually fight. The triremes cannot maneuver freely. Ships collide. Broken oars float across the waves. Splintered masts drift upon the water. Smoke rises as desperate crews struggle to maintain formation. Hour after hour, the fighting continues. Gradually, the strength of the Athenian fleet begins to fail. One ship after another becomes trapped. Others are driven ashore. Many are captured. By evening, the once proud fleet that had sailed from Athens with such confidence has been almost completely destroyed. The sea grows quiet once more. The waves gently carry broken pieces of timber towards the shore. Above them, the evening sky remains as beautiful as ever. Yet the greatest tragedy of the Peloponnesian War has only just begun. For the surviving Athenian army now faces a desperate journey inland, far from the safety of the sea, far from home, with little hope remaining. The sun rises gently over the hills of Sicily. Its warm golden light spreads across the quiet countryside, touching vineyards, olive trees, and distant mountains that have watched countless generations come and go. The Mediterranean Sea sparkles peacefully beneath the morning sky, as though it knows nothing of the sorrow that now fills the land. You stand among the remaining Athenian soldiers. Only a short time ago, they commanded one of the greatest fleets the ancient world had ever seen. Now, the harbor behind them is silent. Their magnificent triremes are gone. Some lie broken beneath the waves. Others rest in enemy hands. The sea that once carried hope now offers no escape. General Nicias gathers the weary army. His voice remains calm despite the hardship surrounding him. There is only one choice left. They must leave the coast and march inland, searching for a path to safety. The journey begins at sunrise. Thousands of exhausted soldiers walk slowly across dusty roads beneath the growing heat of the Sicilian sun. Each man carries what little remains. A shield, a spear, a small bag of food, some help-wounded companions whose strength fades with every passing mile. No one speaks very much. The sound of sandals against dry earth replaces the confident marching songs that once echoed from the fleet. You walk beside them through quiet valleys. The countryside is beautiful. Wildflowers bloom beside narrow streams. Olive branches sway gently in the warm breeze. Birds continue singing from ancient pine trees. Nature offers peace, even while human hearts carry disappointment. Behind the marching column, Syracusan cavalry follows from a distance. They do not rush forward. Instead, they patiently wait for opportunities to slow the retreat. From time to time, arrows fall among the weary Athenians. Small groups of defenders delay the march before disappearing once again into the surrounding hills. Every day becomes a little more difficult than the one before. Fresh water grows harder to find. Food becomes scarce. The bright Sicilian sun slowly gives way to cool evenings beneath clear skies filled with countless stars. At night, the soldiers gather around small campfires. Some quietly remember home. Others speak of Athens, wondering whether they will ever see the Acropolis again. Many simply sit in peaceful silence, watching the flames dance beneath the endless heavens. Days later, the exhausted army reaches the banks of the sonorous river. The sight of fresh water brings sudden hope. Men who have marched beneath the burning sun hurry toward the flowing river. Some kneel to drink, others wash the dust from their faces. For one brief moment, the hardships of the journey seem almost forgotten. But the pursuing Syracusan forces quickly arrive. The peaceful riverbank suddenly becomes crowded with frightened soldiers trying to continue their retreat. Confusion spreads through the exhausted ranks. The calm order that had carried them across so many miles begins to disappear. General Demosthenes, separated from part of the army, realizes that further resistance will only bring greater suffering. With quiet dignity, he surrenders his remaining soldiers. Soon afterward, Nicias also understands that the long journey has reached its end. The once proud expedition has no strength left to continue. He lays down his weapons with the hope of saving the lives of those who still remain. The long march is over. The greatest military expedition ever sent by Athens has come to its final chapter. As evening settles across Sicily, the river flows quietly beneath the fading light. The same stars that shine above Athens now appear above the weary prisoners. The war continues. But for these men, their long voyage has finally ended. The morning mist slowly rises above the hills of Sicily. The fields are quiet once again. The sounds of marching armies have faded, replaced by birdsong and the gentle rustling of olive branches in the breeze. Nature has already begun its quiet work of healing, covering the scars left behind by war. You look back upon the road where the Athenian army made its final journey. The dust has settled. The campfires have gone dark. The great Sicilian expedition has come to an end. Far across the Mediterranean, however, the story is far from over. When news finally reaches Athens, silence spreads throughout the city. The harbor of Piraeus, once filled with hundreds of magnificent triremes, feels strangely empty. Families gather along the docks, waiting for ships that never return. Many continue watching the sea for days, some for weeks. Each unfamiliar sail brings a brief moment of hope before disappointment quietly returns. Messengers eventually confirm the truth. The fleet has been destroyed. Thousands of soldiers have been lost. Some have fallen in battle, others remain prisoners in Sicily. The greatest expedition Athens had ever attempted has ended in complete failure. Even so, the city does not surrender. Athens has faced hardship before. Its citizens begin rebuilding once again. New ships are constructed. Fresh crews are trained. The walls are repaired. The people continue believing that perseverance may yet bring victory. But Sparta now recognizes that the balance has changed. Encouraged by Athens' defeat, Sparta strengthens its alliances throughout Greece. Another important change also begins to unfold. Far to the east, the mighty Persian Empire watches the conflict carefully. For many years, Persia had remained largely outside the struggle between Athens and Sparta. Now, Persian leaders decide to support Sparta with money and resources. That support allows Sparta to build a stronger navy than ever before. The sea, once dominated almost entirely by Athens, slowly becomes a place of growing uncertainty. Years continue passing. The war enters its final chapter. Small battles occur across the Aegean. Cities change sides. Alliances shift. Generals rise to prominence and quietly disappear into history. Among them, Alcibiades returns to Athens for a time, once again serving his homeland with remarkable skill. Yet political fortunes change quickly. Before long, he too fades from the center of events, leaving others to guide the city's final years. Meanwhile, a capable Spartan commander named Lysander steadily strengthens his fleet. Patiently, carefully, he prepares for one decisive moment. That moment arrives in 405 BCE at the Battle of Aegospotami. The Athenian fleet anchors beside the narrow waters of the Hellespont. Confident after many years of experience, the crews follow familiar routines. Lysander waits. He refuses to attack immediately. Day after day, he studies the movements of the Athenian sailors. Then, when the opportunity finally appears, he strikes with remarkable speed. The Spartan fleet launches a sudden surprise attack. Many Athenian ships are caught before they can prepare for battle. Within a single afternoon, nearly the entire remaining Athenian navy is captured or destroyed. The loss is devastating. Without its fleet, Athens loses the lifeline that had protected it throughout the war. Soon afterward, Sparta begins the final blockade of Athens. The roads are closed. The sea is controlled by Spartan ships. Grain becomes increasingly scarce. The busy marketplaces that once welcomed merchants from every corner of the Mediterranean slowly grow quiet. Families carefully divide what little food remains. The city that once seemed invincible now faces a challenge it cannot overcome. Months pass. Winter gives way to spring. The people endure with remarkable courage, but supplies continue disappearing. Finally, in 405 BCE, after 27 long years of conflict, Athens accepts surrender. The long walls that had protected the city for generations are dismantled. The great empire built by Athens comes to an end. Yet, as you stand quietly upon the Acropolis, watching the evening sun sink beyond the Aegean Sea, you realize something remarkable. Although Athens has lost the war, it has not lost its ideas. The philosophers continue asking timeless questions. The playwrights continue writing unforgettable dramas. Artists continue shaping marble into beauty. Historians continue recording the lessons of the past. The writings of Thucydides, who lived through much of this conflict, preserve its story with extraordinary care, allowing future generations to understand not only the battles, but also the hopes, fears, and choices of those who experienced them. As darkness slowly settles across Greece, the sea becomes calm once more. The stars appear one by one above the ancient world. The Peloponnesian War has finally come to an end. Its victories and defeats belong to history. Its lessons remain. You quietly leave the shores of ancient Greece, carrying with you the memory of marble cities, olive-covered hills, patient sailors, disciplined warriors, and ordinary families who lived through extraordinary times. The waves continue to reach the shore.
The wind still moves gently through the olive trees. And history, like the sea itself, continues its endless journey. One peaceful story at a time. Thank you for joining this peaceful journey through the Peloponnesian War. May your evening be restful, your thoughts calm, and your sleep as gentle as the quiet waters of the ancient sea. Good night.